Science!
Science!
Welcome back for another edition of the Dills Hearthstone League. Our featured match right now is going to be Dan0 versus theJen. These are two stalwarts of the Dillionaires, two of my favorite people in the world, and they're going to go head-to-head. And very exciting stuff. I think this is the first time for both of them that they've been on stream this season. This is, of course, the third season of the Dills Hearthstone League. We are in week number 4. Dan0 will be bringing Rogue, Druid, and Shaman, and his Warrior has been banned. theJen has Hunter, Mage, and Shaman, and her Priest has been banned. This will be, I think, the first time we're seeing Hunter in a featured match of the Dills Hearthstone League, so I'm very excited to see what that deck looks like. Both these players are also currently rocking 2-1 records, so I'm going to go ahead and let them know that they can start when ready. And we'll get into this action. Oops. I'm very excited to see the build of Hunter that theJen has brought. I'm pretty sure I know what her mage deck is, as I did help her kind of fine-tune that list. So I'm fairly aware of what she's got there. But as far as Dan0's lists, no idea. He's known for bringing some pretty interesting stuff to the Dills Hearthstone League, so super excited to see what he's got. And let's go ahead and get into the action right now as we move into game number 1. We will have Dan0 on the bottom, and theJen will be on the top. And looks like she is going to go ahead and open right up with that Hunter list. And we see Dan0's got the Shaman, and it looks to be a Jade version of the Shaman deck. We saw Eye of Blackpaw, Jade Lightning, and Jade Claws. There's the Tunnel Trog opener. And theJen's got a Smuggler's Crate, a Dawn Hancho. So she's rocking hand buff Hunter, Savannah Highmane as well. Going to be a little tough for her to kind of keep up with this early aggression, because Dan0 does have Tunnel Trog into the Jade Claws opener, and there's a second Tunnel Trog. He could actually choose to just go ahead and do this. If he doesn't, he'll leave one mana like laying on the floor here. But going into turn 3, both of these Tunnel Trogs will get buffed by the Jade Claws. So an interesting decision here for Dan0. The King's Elec did get buffed, so on turn 2, Jen will be rocking a 5/4 King's Elec, and Beast Rager will hit the Savannah Highmane. She could choose to play it on this turn. And she's got the Scavenging Hyena in there as well, so she does go with the Beast Rager, and it does hit the King's Elec, so that's a 6/5 for 2 that will draw a card. And there's the Hammer of Twilight, which has actually been making a little bit of a resurgence in the Shaman lists lately. Now that the Spirit Claws is out, they've been looking for replacements, and Hammer of Twilight's a pretty valuable weapon. Here comes a 6/5 for 2, and it does draw a card. It's a Tundra Rhino. That is value right there. And now theJen does have 2 more mana remaining, so she's considering whether it's worth it to coin out the Savannah Highmane or a Hero Power. I think I prefer that she doesn't, though, just because the Scavenging Hyena just gets eaten up for free by these 2/3s, so it doesn't really do much. I think her best bet here is to hold back on that Scavenging Hyena and hold the coin back for a future play, especially when she's got Tundra Rhino, and she might be able to smooth out the curve. But she is going to go ahead and drop that Scavenging Hyena. It will eat an attack, but it will die without actually killing anything. That being said, Dan0 probably has to feel like he is a little concerned about this 6/5. However, the Flame Tongue Totem is going to help clean this up fairly easily. If he puts the Flame Tongue here, he gets a 4 attack and a 3 attack. So you can use the 4 attack plus the weapon on the 6/5, and then the 2/3 over here to kill the Scavenging Hyena. Got to kill that one first. And actually using that plus the face takes 6 damage against the Hunter, which doesn't feel very good, but does continue to hold onto the board. And now theJen probably is going to have to quick shot this Flame Tongue Totem, and that's exactly what she goes for. Fits a Hero Power in, so does have Dan0 down to 19, but without the board, is definitely in a little bit of a touchy situation. And there's a Feral Spirits. Feral Spirits is going to add, that's basically adding 4 attack this turn. So suddenly smashing face for 8. And Jen is already down to 13 life on turn number 5. Another quick shot drawn So you could quick shot the 4-3 here, but then there's not a lot to follow that up with. So Jen is in a tough situation already. But I think she's going to have to deal with this board, so I think the quick shot's going to have to go out on the 4-3. That's what she goes for. But again, just the hero power to follow that up, and she's still facing down 9 damage. I believe Dan0 is too overloaded to play, but the Jade Lightning he can play, and that's lethal damage. 9 plus 4 is 13, so Dan0 takes a quick game number 1 with that Shaman deck. Just found a really, really strong opener. And the Jen's Hunter, while she was able to make a fairly massive King's Relic and draw the card, just didn't have enough tools to fight back on the board. So Dan0's going to go up 1-0. In super quick fashion. So the Shaman is out. Dan0 is now left with Rogue and Druid, and the Jen still has the Hunter Mage and the Shaman available to her. Again, Dan0 did ban out the Priest, so I'm thinking Dan0 might be rocking a fairly aggressive lineup if he didn't want to face Dragon Priest, as Dragon Priest can turn back aggression fairly easily. Jen is going to stick with that Hunter, and Dan0 has now swapped to the Druid, and we see Bluegill, Blackwing Corruptor, and Swipe, so I think we're looking at a Water Druid, so rocking the Murloc package with some dragons, and he does get the Finja. Finja, a very important card to make that whole water package run. Jen's got the Smuggler's Crate again on turn number 1. So, and a Tomb Spider is in Jen's hand, so that's going to be a 5/5 for 4 that draws a card, finds a beast. Druid of the Saber going to come out in stealth mode. So 3/2 that cannot be killed. But now we see the Jen can go coin companion into companion, and then a Tomb Spider to follow that up with on turn number 4, and I think that's a really strong and aggressive line, so I hope that's what she goes for here. You need to start getting some action back on the board to challenge this 3/2. I don't think an Alley Cat is going to be strong enough, as the hero power from Dan0 is going to clean up one of these really easily. And there's a Zubot, so Zubot's going to actually buff up the Sabertooth Panther into a 4/3. But Dan0 could opt to just go for a hero power here as well. However, this develops a 3/3 and buffs your Sabertooth Panther. And even at that point, you could decide to just go face with your 4/3. Just take an aggressive line. Dan0's going to go ahead and think through the options. And I think he's going to go, yeah, he's going to go for the hero power. Play it a little safe, slow things down a bit. Try to control this board. And the Jen is, you know, it was a little unfortunate not going for the Animal Companion play there. But now she can coin out the Tomb Spider. I think this might have been her plan all along. A 4-mana 5/5, and she'll get to discover a beast as well. And she's got some interesting options. Fiery Bat, Armored Warhorse, and King's Relic. I think you probably want the King's Relic, but the Fiery Bat can fit in on the next turn with the Animal Companion. So Fiery Bat's a pretty strong pick as well, but she does go with the Armored Warhorse. And if that does win the joust, the 5/3 that charges is pretty strong. Enchanted Raven is another beast, so the Zubot will only buff one of them. And that still will not deal with the 5/5. So we may see just Fairy Dragon hero power here, or potentially even Fairy Dragon Enchanted Raven could also come out on this turn. Either way, setting up for the Finja on turn number 5 is going to be really powerful. I think the Jen is going to hope that nothing on her board will be able to be killed by the Finja. But if you do play the Fairy Dragon and the Enchanted Raven, it gives you lots of options to add some attack power to that Finja. Looks like he is going to go for the Zubot plus the Enchanted Raven. I like this play a lot. I think this is a very strong play. And the Jen now maybe is going to have to King's Relic and Quick Shot, but she's hovering over that Armored Warhorse. I like the King's Relic Quick Shot play, though. And she does go with the King's Relic here. Let's see if she gets the card off of it. No, does not. Ties do not equal wins. But the Quick Shot will come down, remove this 4/2. Now she can also clean up the 3/3 as well. There was actually an option there to kill the Enchanted Raven instead, considering either way the remaining minions would still trade with the 3/3, but it would remove the beast off of the board, right? So now Jen, a little bit of an issue here without the Houndmaster follow-up. This King's Elec is definitely vulnerable to the Finja the Flying Star. She is going to get 5 damage in on this turn, though. A swipe comes out, but I think we're going to see the Finja attack. That'll summon 2 Murlocs out of the deck. And no matter which 2 Murlocs Dan0 gets here, he will be able to deal with the 2/4. Gets the Bluegill plus the Murloc War Leader, so that buffs Finja, and Bluegill can clean up the Grime Street Smuggler. Could also choose to just use a swipe instead. Actually, Dan0's got a lot of choices here. Could go with the swipe and Fairy Dragon. Could just trade with the 4/2 and then play like an Azure Drake, Enchanted Raven. There are tons and tons of options here for Dan0. We're going to go ahead and play the Azure Drake first, it looks like. I think that's a really smart play. It'll allow him to find some more gas. There's another Murloc War Leader. And you can see the power of Finja here. It does choose to trade with the Grime Street Smuggler, and I think that's absolutely correct. Looks like we're going to see Animal Companion, and maybe double Animal Companion here. Although she may want to use the Quick Shot now to remove Finja without allowing Finja to get another free kill. Can go for the Azure Drake trade. This is actually a really tricky spot for the Gen. I'm not sure what the correct line of play is here. But I think you really do want to deal with this Finja. You don't want to allow the final Murloc to get pulled out of the deck. And she does use Quick Shot on the Finja. I think I like the trade with the 4/4, and that's what she goes for. Really well played there by the Gen. Dan0 cannot activate these Draconid Crushers, but he can play a Murloc War Leader, which will give him 2 5/4s. And then the Fairy Dragon plus a hero power. So applying quite a bit of pressure now, dealing 8 more damage this turn. And that sets up for the Draconid Crusher on the next turn to be activated and become a 9/9. And the Gen is in a really tough spot here. Can go for Armored Warhorse and Animal Companion, and potentially if the Armored Warhorse gets to charge, can maybe clean up both of these things, but doesn't get the Huffer. Instead gets a Leok, and Leok feels real bad here. Armored Warhorse doesn't look like it wins the joust. Nope. Druid of the Claw beats Shaky Zip Gunner, and the Gen is going to have to end her turn there, facing down a whole bunch of damage. This is 10, 15, 18 with the Blackwing Corruptor. That's lethal. Oh, but Dan0 misses lethal. Swipes the minion rather than counting up the damage on the face there. And I think he's going to realize after he makes these attacks that lethal has been missed. So it gives Gen one more chance to try to find a way to equalize on this board. Yeah, realizing now that the Gen's at 4 and he had Swipe and Blackwing Corruptor. So maybe Dan0 saw it, maybe he didn't. Let's see. Houndmaster and Scavenging Hyena could happen here. I don't think it's enough to slow this down, though, as Dan0 will be able to power right through all of this and finish this game off and take a 2-0 lead on the back of 2 very aggressive starts with both of these decks. He's just counting things up.
I wield the power of Black.
Did he at least tap this time? Oh my. Alright, Dan0 does find lethal that turn. And now goes up 2-0 over the Gen. And he's only got his Rogue deck left, but I think we can all say that Rogue is a nice class to have as your remaining deck when you're playing a best of 5 series, as it's pretty hard to turn back Rogue 3 times in a row. A Rogue might brick out a few times on the draw nothing but spells and no Azure Drakes or Gadget Hands, or draw nothing but minions and no spells to go along with those. But it's oftentimes not going to happen 3 straight games in a row. Let's see if the Gen decides to stick with the Hunter. Hunter is actually a pretty decent matchup with the Rogue, just because Hunter can, apply a decent amount of pressure. But she's going to swap out and go with the Shaman deck, as she feels like the Hunter is letting her down a little bit. Oh my, and we see Silent Knight and Argent Horse Rider. So this looks to be a fairly aggressive stealth build for Dan0. We know he likes the stealth rogue builds. I wonder if he's still rocking the water package here. The Gen has a Sylvanas Windrunner and Jade Spirit, so she's got a slightly slower build of Shaman. And there is the Leroy Jenkins with a Shadow Step. So that is a lot of burst damage out of hand. Deciding whether it's right to go the Swashbuckler or not, I think it is. It puts your one attack guy, and there's a Bloodlust. A Bloodlust could actually come in handy when you're playing a deck that's running Silent Knights. And the Gen draws a really heavy card in the Jade Chieftain, which is not what she's looking for now. Healing Totem is nice, as now she gets essentially a free kill on one of these pirates. And Dan0 is, yeah, he's rocking all of the hard-to-kill sticky minions. Might go with a coin for the Horse Rider just to remove this Tunnel Trog. The Tunnel Trog does represent a significant amount of threat, and does decide to go for that. And the Gen is currently a little bit light on plays here. Just going to have to totem on turn number 3. It's the Spell Power Totem, which will likely get removed. And there is another Swashbuckler. We'll probably see another Swashbuckler come out. Maybe the Dagger, maybe the Argent Squire. Could also just go with the Silent Knight. The Silent Knight's a pretty decent option here. Because these 1-mana cards you can fit into turns pretty easily later on. But he is going to opt for the Swashbuckler first. See what's he get. Oh, a Wind Fury. Wow. Wind Fury Leroy Jenkins with Shadow Step. That's a lot of burst damage. That is a lot of burst damage. I like playing the Argent Squire over daggering up here. It puts a sticky minion on board. Doesn't die to Maelstrom Portal. But instead, he is going to opt for the dagger. Let's see if he decides to swing. He holds back on the dagger hit. So the Jade Spirit now can finally come out, get the Jade train rolling. But again, Gen is just dropping minions and hoping to hell that they stick. There is the Bluegill Warrior, so likely we do have the water package here still in Dan0's deck. Silent Knight Argent Squire. Pretty strong turn here. And just opts to push face damage. Choosing to hold back on the Argent Squire, however. Interesting call there. The Gen does have a thing from below. But right now, yeah, a little bit short on good options here. Can totem and play thing from below on this turn, though. And then could take a value trade on the 2-1 with her Jade Spirit. And does that, and the Healing Totem will heal up some of that damage. So that will take it out of range of things like Fan of Knives. Now, Dan0's got a little bit of an awkward hand. Lots and lots of burst damage, but not a lot of ways to deal with the board right now. No real removal options in hand as of yet. Does have the option of Bloodlust, which would allow the 2/2 to clear the thing from below and only remove the bubble. And then could use the Swashbuckler to remove the Stoneclaw Totem. But then not a lot of great options after that. I think if the Argent Squire had been on board this turn, this Bloodlust would be a no-brainer, but choosing to hold back on the Argent Squire last turn means that one less attack is going to get buffed here. That might be a small misplay. But still a fairly strong turn here. Able to remove the 5/5 for free. Looks like going to push 1 damage with the dagger. I like that, as it looks like you're going to have plenty of time based on your hand for re-daggers over the next few turns. The Gen does draw an Azure Drake, but these Jade Chieftains are a little bit, they're clogging your hand up a little bit. I kind of like just playing the the Sylvanas here just to utilize all the mana, but does go for the Azure Drake. I don't think that's necessarily like the wrong play at all, but it does mean that the mana usage was a little bit. We have Iggy Pup being a little rambunctious over here. So Dan0's hand is definitely, I would say, slightly awkward right now. Lots of burst, but needs to get Gen a little lower in health. Silent Knight is a good option to play here, though. As if you were to draw something like a Cold Blood, you could Cold Blood and Wind Fury and deal a whole bunch of damage. So I like just, yeah, using all your minions here. Probably going to re-dagger. Going to have to leave up that Azure Drake, unfortunately. And the Gen will be able to play a Jade Chieftain next turn, but she's only played one Jade so far. So the Jade Chieftain's taunt Jade is only going to be a 2/2. It's not very powerful when facing this board down. And right now, Lightning Storm not very good either, considering the fact that there's a lot of bubbles on the board. Looks like she is going to think about that Maelstrom portal. I think I'd like to see her develop these Jades, though. At some point, this Jade stuff is going to have to start happening. And the longer she waits on those, the smaller those Jades will be going into the late game. And she needs to have, you know, these strong minions to fight back and start applying pressure back to Dan0 so that he has to start making trades. She's just going to go for the Maelstrom portal, though, which will allow her to clean up quite a bit of power from this board. She may consider using the Lightning Storm as well this turn. Jade Claw is going to come out. That is going to add to that Jade count. I think I would like to see her use the Azure Drake here, but I don't mind this as well, as it does allow her to push 4 damage to the face and start turning this, turning the pressure back onto Dan0. And there's Finja. Finja seems like a fairly decent option here. However, if Finja comes out, the Gen can kill it with a Lightning Storm. Now, of course, Dan0 doesn't know that a Lightning Storm is in the Gen's hand, just saw the Maelstrom portal played. So, might not think that there's another removal option as far as AoE is concerned in the Gen's hand. I mean, it's the strongest play you have available to you at the moment. Considering using Wind Fury now, could potentially also go for the Bluegill just to clean up the spell power and give Finja the best chance of living, as then the Gen would have to roll a spell power totem. Larry Oman in the chat says, I don't play very many tournaments. What keeps the players from watching the stream and seeing their opponent's cards? Well, here in the Dills Hearthstone League, we consider each other friends. So we're on the honor system. I don't think either of these players would feel comfortable with themselves if they were to watch the stream. So, all right. Lightning Storm now does have a 50-50 chance. Can also potentially roll a spell power totem, which would give a 100% chance, which is it's a 1 out of 3 here. And there it is, spell power totem. She can play the Tunnel Trog. Lightning Storm will clean up the Finja, and Dan0 is not going to get any Finja value at all. And that is very strong for the Gen. That could be right now what turns this game in her favor. Cold Blood with Leroy and Wind Fury is a lot of damage, though. That's 20 damage. And that's lethal. If Dan0 sees this, this is game. There's no taunts on the board. Can Dan0 find it? He's hovering over all the cards. He's thinking about it. He's counting it up. Oh my god. It turns out the Swashbuckler with the Wind Fury has given Dan0 a 3-0 victory over the Gen. Wow, what a draw there. Dan0 plays, finding lethal after the Gen got a huge totem roll, but with no taunts up, unable to stop the 20 incoming damage from the Leroy Cold Blood Wind Fury combo. Well played there by Dan0. He's going to move to a 3-1 record. And the Gen is going to fall to 2-2. And again, long road back now for the Gen to try to make that top 8 tourney. But I think both players played very well. Congratulations to Dan0. He is now sitting in a pretty good position to now to continue to climb and make that top 8. But pretty interesting series there. A lot of interesting twists and turns. Dan0 played some very aggressive decks and played them very aggressively. So I really think you got to give him credit. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Dills Hearthstone League, our featured match, Dan0 versus the Gen. Congratulations to Dan0. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching on Twitch, I'll be back with more Hearthstone in just a moment.